It's
Okay, good day, everyone. We are here again with another session, and I'm once again joined here by Kenneth. We are tackling another topic here, more specifically regarding verbal emotional regulation. And yeah, by now you should all know who who both of us are. Yeah, and if we move onwards here with this topic of emotional regulation, so the main things, the promises that you're going to get out of here is you will understand that the power of emotional connection and being open with others in recovery, and you will also start developing the capacity to share and be vulnerable with others. But yeah, Kenneth, do you have anything that you want to share with regards to the promises here?
not at the moment, Stefan. I'm just super excited to get into this and to equip our listeners, our viewers a little bit better with all of this stuff. So
Mhm.
yeah, you can proceed to the next slide. Thanks.
Okay, no problem. So yeah, we're still continuously busy with fighting to go from being emotionally overwhelmed to be emotionally regulated. And through this, we want to reach a point where we can say utilizing the various resources brought on by meaningful sharing and connecting with others, that this kind of like forms a foundational step for us. Anything from your side here, Kenneth?
Super excited. You can
Super
proceed.
excited.
Thanks, Stefan.
Awesome.
Okay,
Right.
here it says, like a bright flare that illuminates the darkness and inform your allies of your position, so too does our sharing signal to others and provide opportunity for connection. Look at that beautiful flare going into the sky there. I don't know if that flare's been shot from a boat or somewhere in the forest, but flares are a very important part of battle. And we also have flares in the program.
Mm,
We're going to talk a little bit more about that a little bit later.
mm. No, we are. But yeah, for me, it's also definitely this aspect that we are illuminating the darkness within ourselves as well. We are intentionally connecting, as we've been talking about connection, also through the verbal, emotional connections that we do with guys. It's something that we can do at any point, or I feel at many more points than, for
Mm,
example, organizing a call or organizing a coffee with someone. This is
mm.
something you can do at a moment's notice. You can shoot up your flare in the sky.
And I like the perspective that you just brought, Stefan. It's shooting a flare into the darkness. So maybe the picture here depicts shooting a flare up into the sky. But as we share with other people, as we choose to be brave enough to be vulnerable, it's also like shooting a flare into our own darkness, into the darkness of our own hearts, and illuminate the stuff that's happening inside there and
Mm,
bring healing. I think light is representative of healing. So yeah,
yes.
that's just a different angle of looking at it. Thanks for that.
No problem at all. So yeah, we are still continuing with the bucket, opening the faucet, as this is another way to promote that regulation, that very important regulation to increase our capacity. And yeah, here the steps that we're going to work on is building on journaling, writing, and speaking, and the differences between the two, and regulation through verbal sharing.
Excellent. Yeah, like climbing a
Right.
mountain, one step at a
Mm,
time. That's the way we're going to get there.
exactly. So do you want to take this one, Kenneth?
In many ways, verbal emotional regulation shares similarities with writing a journal entry. However, their purposes differ. As with journaling, we also identify and elaborate on 5 emotions that we have experienced as a form of regulation. However, instead of writing, we verbally share our emotional experiences by creating a WhatsApp voice note and posting it in our battle station group. At long last, we're talking about the emotional sharing that happens in the recovery battle station groups. So if you're not
Mm,
part of a group yet, please definitely reach out to me. But talking and regulating emotions by sharing what's happening on the inside of us is probably one of the most powerful steps that we can take. And it's sometimes not even important for the individual to when you send your message, it's not important for the other person to listen to what you've shared, although that is a massive Bonus, if the other person listens to the share, the fact that you have sent the voice note, that is what really counts. That's an action that you can take. That is something that you can't control. You can't control that other people listen to it, but you can send your flare. You can pull the trigger, and you can talk what's happening in your heart in that group with other men that's been where you are. And yeah, so just take the responsibility and do it. But that's step one. So
Yes.
you can see the boy there screaming into the microphone. He looks a little bit frustrated or a little bit intense, position on his face there. But he's busy using his voice and amplifying it by speaking it into a group.
Yes, exactly. Exactly just like that, Kenneth. And yeah, I think through the step two, the question might arise as to why it is necessary to do both these tasks. Why do both journaling, physically writing down the emotions and speaking the emotions? Because I think for a lot of people, it might be a factor, but they sound so similar. Even though writing and speaking about our emotions might be very similar, the two activities activate different parts of our brains as well and can lead to the information being processed differently. So, of course, with the voice notes that we send, there is that aspect of group connection, but also just the mere action of speaking in comparison to writing. It's two very different actions, and it stimulates our brains in different ways. And also, like the last paragraph says here, people also differ in how they relate to speaking versus writing. Some may relate more to the one medium over the other, but by targeting both creates more opportunities for meaningful emotional processing to get basically the best out of both situations to get the most out of the regulation as possible.
So the best way to do it would be to do both.
Yes, exactly. And I must say, I do know that some people find more out of writing or more out of speaking. But yeah, through that targeting both, you can find which is the one that really speaks to you. But by also putting enough time into the other one, you are getting the best out of both worlds, basically.
Excellent.
I'm going to take this one.
Where journaling is a very private and personal activity with yourself and God as you understand Him. Verbal sharing comes with the knowledge that what we say will be heard by others. It takes courage to openly share with others what we are experiencing, but through a commitment to the truth, we regulate by handing over our experiences to the group. It is another tool that is used to build trust and support within the larger sphere of recovery. So here, what's important for me is the fact that we're reaching out to other people. That community that this is referring to is very, very important. I also think that maybe it taps into something that's very primal in men. I think many years ago in the I don't know, the prehistoric ages, or I don't know, there's something very primal about us as men. But something happens when we as men come together. Maybe this has got something to do with a like a prehistoric age, or like, not that I believe in that stuff too much, but like I just think like many years ago, before the modern age, I think there was massive value in men coming together and talking about issues and trying to find common solutions. How are we going to get past that lion that's roaring in the jungle there when we are busy hunting for food? Like it's very important for us to connect, and we tap into something very basic in our nature when we come together and talk about specific issues that we may be facing. And it's almost like I also know that our brains release a neurochemical known as oxytocin, which is called the bonding neuron or hormone. So oxytocin is a bonding hormone, and when we connect with each other, there's a sense of bonding that happens. There's a sense of connectedness that happens, and it's almost like we feel less alone. We are more visible, and we're dispersing the load. We're spreading the load of what we're facing throughout the rest of the group, and that's the thing that we want to really, really tap into deeply and consistently on an ongoing basis, diligently.
Yes. And I think through that connection, we also realize maybe within ourselves strength that we might not have realized beforehand. I know for a fact that when I do my connections, all those challenges, all those loads that I am bearing, all the all the, shall I say, the lions that I need to go and hunt become so much more, I would say, of an easier task to do, or not, maybe not necessarily easier, but more bearable, more doable. I feel like I have more capacity as it comes back to it. I have more capacity to handle those lions that are outside there for each and every single one of us.
Excellent. Love it.
Right. So yes, now we're coming to the application story, and I shall give us a bit of the reading here. So continuing on with John's story. So I was initially skeptical about doing what amounted for me to journaling without writing. They did seem very similar to me, and I struggled to see the worth in doing both, especially since I already found journaling to be effective for me. I was placed in a recovery battle station with a mixture of guys I knew and some new faces as well. Even though it felt like I was going to repeat myself, I nonetheless committed to doing 2 voice notes per week along with my normal journaling schedule. Even though I was usually repeating what I have written down in my journal the day before, there was a sense of unease in knowing that people I have yet to share my story with would still hear what I was feeling. As I continued with the voice notes, I started to remark that instead of feeling like they repeated my journal entries, it started to feel like the 2 complemented each other. By doing the one, the other would be made easier to do. I also found that sometimes I would record things in the voice notes that I did not even think to mention in my journal entries. I found that both assisted in providing a more fleshed out understanding of the same experiences. I also found that unlike journaling, I now had a larger group of people who would be able to listen to and give feedback to my experiences. Along with this, I was being exposed to many new people on the program through the group, and by listening to their voice notes, I could learn from them and provide support where possible. Soon enough, even the strangers on the group began to feel more like fellow brothers, and I felt a sense of comfort to know I have a group I could quickly access on my phone or computer whenever I need them. And yeah, I must say, Kenneth, for me, with the application story, for me personally, something that really stood out for me is this idea that journaling and the voice notes kind of play off each other. Because yeah, that's something I've also realized in my personal recovery journey, is that by doing the one, the other one gains a bit more depth, or in total, I just get a better picture of something. Maybe I'm doing my voice notes, and when I write about some of the things I said in my voice note, new things pop in my head that I didn't even think about, and it just helps flesh it out.
And I think the law of synergy is also at play here. So if I can pick up 10 kilos maximum, you can pick up 10 kilos maximum. Together we can pick up 25 or maybe 30 kilos maximum. If I look at this model image here, every person, every member is putting his weight, is casting his emotional weight, like the Bible says, cast your burdens, like we're putting our burdens into a common pool where it gets shared. And together, I mean, here's 4 people. Let's say the emotional weight that the first person can carry, the green guy on top, is 10 kilograms worth of emotional weight. I know that's not an accurate description, but let's say he does 10, the second guy 20 or 10, and the third guy 10, and the fourth guy 10 as well. Together, the group, the weight that the group can carry far exceeds the sum of each individual member.
Yes.
So guys, if you remember that when you share, especially when you listen to a voice note, I think also sometimes it's more important to listen to the voice notes than to share. Although if you don't share, you may get a strike in the battle station setting. But if you listen to the voice notes, you also regulate through listening to what the other guys have shared. And that is a great secret that we have discovered and that we are taking full advantage of.
Awesome. Thanks for that insight there, Kenneth. So moving on, the metaphor I also got with this whole picture is kind of like a campfire. maybe also going back to the image that you cultivated, Kenneth, with regards to going back to more primitive, more, I would say, simpler times. I think the battle station is a place of warmth where several guys can come around to be together in a place of light, of warmth, of cultivating each other in discussions around a campfire. That's kind of like the image that came to my mind.
And there's another, I think, a nice expansion on that image, and that is the ember, the coal, the hot piece of wood that is glowing.
Yes.
If you had to take that out of the fire, it will very easily grow cold. And but if you keep it in the fire, it will add its energy to the rest of the fire. So we want to keep everybody involved. And there's also a saying that is emanating from these battle stations that is becoming a bigger and bigger theme in the entire organization, and that is leave no man behind. So make sure that when a person starts to isolate or drawing himself to the side, that we will reach out to that person, keeping him in the heat of the flame, the recovery flame, so to speak.
Yes. Awesome. Love it. Really do love it. And yes, to continue on with the choice that we have. So we can either share regularly and with honesty within the group, or be inconsistent and or guarded with your sharing. And I would even say to not want to share at all, to isolate. So that is the choices that lay before you in this specific lesson. And
Excellent.
moving over to the call of action, Kenneth, shall you take this for us?
Yes, let's take a moment to reflect on how we're feeling. Send an emotional regulation voice note on your battle station group on a Monday and Thursday. But if you're not in a battle station group, send that emotional regulation voice note to me or to Stefan if you've got his number. Just send it, try it out, see what happens, and say, you can say, hi, this is Peter reporting for battle station, to give it a bit of an army feel. And that would be my challenge to you. Every single one of these slides, we have a call to action, then we have a challenge. My challenge to you would be to send that voice note, send the first one. Do it, just do it. Don't think about what the other person will think or feel or hear or how they're going to receive it. Just send it. Press the green button and send the voice note. And you'll be amazed.
Yes.
I've often heard Stefan men say, how am I going to talk for 90 seconds? And then 2 months later, they talk for 5 minutes and they apologize that they couldn't stop talking, So it becomes fun, guys. It's just a bit strange when you do it for the first time. So, and then the second call to action is listen to your group members' voice notes and send through response to their voice notes. Remember, taking care of our emotional well-being is important, and it's okay to ask for help when we need it. Guys, one more thing I want to say about this. There's 2 periods of time in the year where people relapse or resign or quit on their recovery more than the rest of the time, more than the rest of the year. There's 2 very dangerous periods of time of the year. And we are right now, as we speak, heading into the first very, very, very extremely dangerous recovery period of the year, so the one that we're heading into is the most difficult and most dangerous one. So, but the previous one, where we usually would see 5, 10, 15, 12 people relapse, for the entire period of the year, we only had 1 person relapse because of these battle stations. These battle stations are far more important than what we could ever imagine or think. These battle stations are very, very powerful. They will carry you through the most difficult of circumstances. But the thing is, it only works if you work it. So work it because you are absolutely worth it.
No, thank you for that, Kenneth. And I think maybe just also for the listeners, for those who might not know, what would you say is the 2 most absolutely important times to be aware, to be fully alert where these instances of relapses do occur?
So yeah, that's a good question. I was hesitant to name the 2 periods of time because I think it's very specific to where we live, our part of the world, because of how the weather works and how our holiday seasons are planned. But in South Africa, certainly it's December and June. I think the June one, which is the one that we're busy heading into, is more important because it's Well, traditionally speaking, we've seen more relapses this time of year, but I think it's got something to do with the coldness and the gloominess of the weather and people wanting to stay inside only, not wanting to go out. So, and the December period for exactly the opposite reason. December over here in South Africa is a holiday season. So people go to the beach. Everyone's almost not dressed, spending a lot of time with family, and the irritation that can come from family, not that we irritated by family. We love them very much, but also a lot of idle time. So that's why December, the holiday season, is very, very difficult period of time for people in recovery. But I spoke to some of the guys in the UK on our program, and there it seems to be like February, March seems to be the heart of winter there. And we've seen some people, a little bit of an increase in people relapsing in that period of time. And for the guys in the UK, they're heading into their summer. So it feels like everybody's becoming alive. Maybe that's also a bit of a tough time. But I think it is different based on where your geographical location is.
And that's very interesting and something definitely for the listeners to keep in mind. But yeah, thank you for sharing that, Kenneth.
Pleasure, Stefan.
Right. And yeah, I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you who have listened to today's presentation. I really do hope that you will jump on the opportunity to go into your battle stations and send a voice note, or like Kenneth said, to either me or him, depending on whose number you have. And yeah, we're really looking forward to see how you take on this challenge and the courage to start growing in this wonderful period of your life. But yeah, thanks everyone.
Perfect. Thanks, Stefan. See you guys later.